Hi and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about stabilizers for bag making or interfacing, however you want to call it. There are various types of interfacing slash stabilizers for when you're making tote bags, wallets, anything that might need a little bit of extra stabilization. We've got fusible and non-fusible. So I've got just a few examples here. These are the ones that I use pretty commonly and pretty often myself. So I just wanted to show you what they look like, tell you what they are, and then show you how they actually perform on a piece of fabric. So on the right side, we have fusible, and on the left side, we have non-fusible. So starting at the top, here we have what's called fusible fleece. So if you look here, hopefully you can see a little bit of maybe sparkle, but this is a very rough-sided, well, excuse me, it's the rough side of it. So you've got a soft side and then you've got a rough side. The rough side is the actual glue, and then obviously the right side is not glued. So this is just fleece with a little bit of glue on it, and you might want to iron it on to, again, you can put it on a tote bag or you can put it on anything that might be soft-sided. I know that I made a little soft baby book once and I used fusible fleece. It worked beautifully. And then the next we have Decoville Light. So this is fusible. I'm sure you can see the shine in there. That shine is the glue. The other side is very matte, but this is kind of a woven type stabilizer. This is one that I've used when I made a tote bag. My son and his girlfriend went to Disneyland or Disney World, and I made them a Mickey Mouse tote, and the tote was able to stand up all on its own just by using this. So if you can see, hopefully you can see, it really does stand up on its own. So when you fuse a piece of cotton to it, it's going to make it nice and firm. It's not super duper firm. It's still a little bit flexible, but it gives a body to it that you're not going to find on like a piece of fleece. So if you look here, see, I'm just kind of doing this and it's staying nice and firm. If I do that with the fleece, it's just floppy. And then another thing is called Pellon Decor Bond, and it's also one-sided fusible. So if you can see right here, it's got the shiny part and then it's got the textured woven part. It's very similar to Decoville Light, but it's a little bit less firm. So you can still see how firm it is comparatively. I mean, to this, very firm. To this, it's just slightly under this one. But if you add a second layer of it, which you can you could totally do that if you want to, it's going to make it even more firm than this. So these are the three fusibles. And then over here, we have just regular old quilt batting. This is just 80, no, not 80/20. This is 100% cotton batting, just regular old thin batting. And as you can see, lots of flop. So if you want a floppy whatever, this is what you're going to use. Now, when I make bags, like I make a lot of duffel bags, tote bags, that kind of stuff, I like to use foam. So this is my favorite right here. This is made by Pellon, and it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's called Pellon Flex Foam Naked. Okay, so if you notice, there's nothing here. It's just literally foam. So there's no fabric on top of it. Pellon also makes a flex foam with fabric, and they also make the fabric ones with one side fusible or both sides fusible. This one here is no fusible. This is just Pellon Flex Foam with they call it tricot, I think, but it's just got that little bit of fabric on it. And this is Pellon Flex Foam without the fabric. This, I think, is about $6 per yard. This, when you get it on sale, like Joann used to have really great sales on this, and I'd get it for like $1.39 a yard. So I would buy this by the bolt, and I would buy probably 3 or 4 bolts at a time. And when Joann went out of business, I bought a whole bunch of bolts. Anyway, I'm down to only 2 left, I think. But anyway, this is a great product. So what I want to do is show you really quick how easy it is to apply and what it looks like when it's applied. So we're going to put these 3 sew-on ones out of the way real quick. And then we're going to get my iron. So I've got my trusty iron over here so that I can show you what it looks like when these 3 are applied to fabric. So we're going to start with the fusible fleece. So all I have here is just a plain regular piece of cotton fabric, quilt quality fabric. And we're going to iron this on real fast. just so you can see what happens to the fabric after it's been fused. So glue side down. So this is the glue. We're gonna make sure it goes down this way. Usually I like to just do 1 or 2 little presses just like this to kind of start that heat activation. Then I flip it over so I can actually get to the glue. Now, fusible fleece is something that I also use when I make Christmas stockings, and sometimes when I make like a quilted pillow or something, because it does have that extra little loft to it. But one thing that you're going to have an issue with fusible fleece, so let's just say I'm going to use this to make a pillow back or something, it can get wrinkly. So when you use a fusible product like this, like the ones that are on the soft fabrics like this, or even on the foam sometimes, you end up with wrinkles, and nobody wants wrinkles. So I tend to stay away from fusible fleece for certain projects, but obviously, like I said, with stockings and sometimes pillowbacks, I'll use it. But I would definitely not want to use fusible fleece in like a full panel bag. So this is what happens when it's fused. So you see how we're still pretty floppy? This is literally just a piece of fleece ironed to the fabric. So you don't have a whole lot of stiffness here. It does give it some stability. So if you're going to embroider it or something, it would be perfect. So this does give it enough stability to where you can probably just embroider straight on that, maybe with a piece of tearaway or something, but it doesn't give it that strength to stand upright. So this is the fusible fleece. Now the next thing I want to show you is the Decoville Light. So if you'll notice, there's some wrinkles in it, and that's totally fine because it's going to iron right out. So here's my extra piece, and we're going to put this glue side down. Press it real quick. This glues pretty fast. Like this doesn't take super long, but we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to kind of press it over here. Then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to come at it like this. Just give it a good iron. You're probably supposed to press. I'm sure I'm supposed to press, but you know, I always forget. So I ironed, but I should have pressed. But anyway, this gives it some pretty good stability. So if you look here, you see how it's nice and straight? It actually holds up and stands up on its own. That's pretty impressive in my book. And if I try to do it with this, it just folds right over. So this is the Decoville Light. Like I said, I use this for like tote bags or anything. This would be good probably for like the outside of a wallet too. So this is Decoville Light. Now the next one I want to show you is the Decor Bond. So this is also a product by Pellon Decor Bond. So we're going to put fusible side down. Do a little press. I think this one's supposed to have a little bit of steam, so forgive me. I'm not going to have steam on this one. Just because I don't keep water in my iron, I usually use a spray bottle, so we're going to go without the steam on this one. So just, again, excuse the fact that there's no steam. But this is Decor Bond. This is going to give you that nice, firm feel. Like I said, at this point, this one is more firm than this one, but this one still has a lot of really good rigidity. Like it still stands up on its own, has pretty good rigidity, just not quite as much. But if we put this one on, so let's put this one on. You know what, let me trim that off real fast just so I make sure that we don't get glue on my iron. Let's put a second little layer here. And then we're going to see, I want you to see how it's going to change the stability of this. It's going to make it a whole lot more stable. So if you really want a nice tote that stands up really, really well, or like if you're making a purse or something like that, I would use either the Decoville Light, or I think there's actually Decoville, not Decoville Light. I haven't tried that one yet, but I know there's a Decoville. This is Decoville Light, or you can try the Decor Bond ×2. So this right here is 2 layers of Decor Bond. And I would have to say that it's at least as firm as the Decoville Light, if not more so. I wish I had that tote that I could show you what it's like, but this right here, this just is wonderful. This would be perfect for bags. And then the next thing I want to show you is over at the machine, I want to show you how this stuff applies. So we'll sew it on real quick on all 3 of these little samples here. So we've got the batting the Pellon Flex Foam with the fabric on it, and then we've got the Pellon Flex Foam with no fabric. So we're gonna go run over to the machine, sew these on real quick. I'll probably just do maybe a line or two of quilting, or maybe just around the outside, and then we'll come back here and we'll look and see how flexible they are. Okay, so now we're back at the machine, and this is the Naked Flex Foam. So this is the one that is literally just foam. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. There's nothing, there's no fabric on this side, no fabric on this side, there's no fusible, no anything. It's just the Flex Foam. So we're just gonna do a quick little square just around the outside. You know what, actually I think I'm gonna extend my stitch length just a little bit, maybe to about 3.25, just so that it goes a little bit faster here. Typically when I'm working with foam, like if I'm quilting with foam or something like that, I will reduce my stitch, or not reduce, I'm sorry, I will increase my stitch length just a little bit, just to, I guess, help it go through a little bit better without having any skips to my stitches. But if you can see, it sews beautifully. Like there's no drag, there's no nothing. Now, this is gonna be a little bit loose when it comes out, just because I'm not doing like quilting or anything. So just bear with me as far as what that's gonna look like. But I just wanted to show you how you use it, basically. So because there's no fabric, because there's no fusible, it is a sew-in product. So you do have to sew it to whatever it is you want to use it on, but it's super quick to sew, and because it's so airy, you're not going to end up with any kind of needle drag or anything like that. It's super duper easy to use. But there we go, and I will show you over at the table what that looks like a little bit more, but that's sewn on now. And now the next one we're going to do is the Pellon Flex Foam with the fabric. So I think, like I said, I think they call it Tricot, T-R-I-C-O-T. This is a non-fusible product, so this does not have fusible glue on either side. It's literally just the foam. So we're going to do the same thing with this one, and just, oops, we're just going to sew the fabric on real fast on this one. You know, when I first started sewing a couple years ago, when I actually got back into it after, you know, high school, I was very intimidated by sew-in interfacing. Like, sew-in interfacing was just scary to me, because I was like, well, how do I use that? How am I going to keep it in place? How, you know, doesn't it need to stick? Like, isn't it going to be a problem? And I found out very quickly that it really is no problem at all. So you can pin it in place if you want to, or clip it in place, or just hold it in place, depending on, I guess, the size of your project. But honestly, sew-in interfacing, or rather sew-in stabilizer like this, is truly, truly no big deal. It is super duper simple to work with. I'm sure you're noticing how easy it is to go through my machine here. And now we're already done. So now this is again, the Flex Foam with no fusible, but it does have the Tricot on it. And then the last one that we're going to do is just quilt batting and fabric. So again, this is just 100% cotton quilt batting. To be honest with you, I can't even tell you, oops, to be honest with you, I can't even tell you like what kind of quilt batting it is, because I'm that uneducated as far as quilting goes. I don't really know like the scrim and all that other stuff. I don't really know the details on this particular batting. I could find out, but at this point, off the top of my head, I don't know. I just know that it's 100% quilt batting that I buy by a giant roll, and that's what I'm using. So I just wanted to show you what this looks like in comparison to some of the other stabilizers that we might use for bags. Obviously, quilt batting is perfect for quilts, it's perfect for mug rugs, it's perfect for pot holders and bowl cozies and that kind of thing. But I do know that there's a lot of people that want to use quilt batting in their tote and bag projects, and I'm trying to show you why that might not be the best idea. I think we just don't know what we don't know, so I'm just trying to show you, you know, why you might not want to use it, or why you might want to use it. But anyway, super fast. Now that's sewn on there too, and now we'll go back over to the table and we'll look and see how flexible these are. Okay, so now we're back at the table so that we can look at these sew-in stabilizers and see what they look like. So this one right here is the Flex Foam No Tricot. This has no fabric around it. And it's really firm. So like I said, I would normally quilt this. Like I wouldn't just put the fabric on top and leave it there because it doesn't, you know, stick so well. There's nothing to stick it on there, so it is a little bit floppy, but normally, like I said, I would stitch lines or something like that, but it stands up beautifully. And this is one thing that I like to use in my duffel bags 100% of the time. So whenever I'm making duffel bags or pouches or anything of the sort, I always use this. In fact, this is a pattern that I'm working on, and I probably shouldn't be showing it to you, but it's not quite done yet. I still have to put the binding on it, but this is a little pouch that I am making and designing for little kids because I have 4 grandsons and they love to color. So I'm making this little pouch for them, and actually, like I said, I'm making a pattern for it. But this is this flex foam. So right here, this type foam with the no tricot and the no fabric is what I use to assemble this whole thing. So it has some really good rigidity, but it's also got some good flexion. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but anyway, it has its ability to be firm, but it also has the ability to, you know, fold and move around a little bit if necessary. So like I said, 100% of the time I use the flex foam with no tricot, and especially because it's a whole lot cheaper. Now the next one is the flex foam with the fabric. Now, I'm going to say this is a little bit more firm. So firm wise, this is a little bit more firm, but for me, because I'm putting fabric on the top and the bottom, I don't usually worry about that. I find that I have plenty of firmness with my little quilt sandwich thing that I do, so I'm not really worried about it. But like I said, you can use Pellon Flex Foam. I think Basel, however you pronounce it, does one as well. I know that by Annie's Soft and Stable is the same. So again, the Pellon Flex Foam comes with no tricot, with tricot, tricot with glue on one side, glue on both sides. There's all kinds of different products of the Pellon Flex Foam. And then the last and final one that we have here is the quilt batting. So this is similar to the fusible fleece. You're gonna have flop. It's soft and it gives you that little bit of extra padding that just makes it feel good, but it's a little squishy. So if you're doing a bag, it's gonna be a little squishy. But anyway, just wanted to do a quick little summary today on stabilizers that we would use for bag making, because bag making is something that I have come to really, really enjoy, and a lot of the patterns that I have been designing and working on, and I still have to finish, of course, are bags and totes and that kind of thing. So it's something that I use quite a bit. So I just wanted to show you the differences. So again, we've got the fusibles over here, non-fusibles over here. This is fusible fleece. This is Decoville Light. This is Decor Bond times 2. So there's 2 layers of Decor Bond. This is Pellon Flex Foam No Tricot. Pellon Flex Foam with Tricot No Fusible. And then this is just regular old cotton quilt batting. So I hope that you learned something. I know that there's all kinds of interfacings for garment making, and that is one subject that I'm not hugely familiar with. I do make garments for myself and for my grandsons, but I don't usually make a whole lot of garments that need interfacing, so I don't really want to speak on that at the moment. So again, there's interfacing for garments. There is stabilizer for embroidery, which I do know a lot about, but that's not what this post is about. It's about sewing with stabilizers. So anyway, I hope that you learned something. And if you like my video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. And if there's any other questions that you have about stabilizers, or if there's anything that you want to see me talk about in my videos, just let me know. Thanks.